What is going on, everybody? We are back. Welcome to another episode of Rev Rock Revolution. My name is Nick Valley.
My name is Jonah Dockenai, and we're...
And this is
Rev Rock Revolution.
I actually did my vocal warm-ups today.
And leave it to me to fuck up by mentioning the show name right before we were supposed to do the show name. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I've heard great things from our viewers so far. Jonah, you were just telling me right before we started recording, which, by the way, I blindsided him with. I would literally just hit record. He was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dude,
I've been told by so many of my friends are like, Jonah, this season of Rev Rock Revolution is wild. And yes, it is. It's just going to get crazier and crazier.
We have so much shit, like, in our minds. It's not planned because nothing's ever planned on this show, but we do have some things cooking that I think are going to be fun this season. Today, we're going to do a throwback to season 2. We're going to have some big, I think, philosophical discussions today.
Yeah.
And we don't know what they're about. We never do. We transcend into this place of, like, I don't know even what the word is for it, but like, it's just, we enter another state. And you know, if you watch this show, you understand. We don't understand where these things come from. They just do. And we've been doing a lot of season 1 on this show so far. So we figured it's time for some season 2 love.
Yeah. And
Jonah, how you been?
I've been doing pretty good. Here, I want to mention one thing before I forget, because I think that we need to mention it on this. Nick and I are prophets. We can tell the future. Yes.
We are.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, Creed and Nickelback are co-headlining a festival, and I want to go so badly.
And that was episode 3 of this show.
Yes, we were like, this has to happen, and it's finally happening.
It is, and unfortunately, it's happening in the middle of fucking nowhere. But
yeah, that is true.
I might end up still going to that. Which, by the way, we're gonna need an update for the viewers for the Sabbath situation.
Yeah.
Jonah, did you try to get tickets? I would love to get your story here.
I didn't. I got told the wrong time. Like when I was looking through stuff, like one of the news things that I saw told me the wrong time. So I was gonna wake up and then like chill for a little bit and then go get the tickets. But by the time I woke up, everyone was posting on their stories that it was sold out. And it sold out in like 8 minutes. Yeah, I saw that. I woke up, saw Nick's story, and yeah, I saw so many people complaining about that. I saw somebody waiting in the line. There was like 80,000 people.
I woke up. You know, Jonah, you want to hear the fucked up part?
Uh-huh.
I woke up so early. I got in the queue. There were only 33 people ahead of me when the tickets opened up.
Really?
And by the time I opened up, everything was sold out. I don't even know how that's possible.
Crazy.
I'm convinced that out of those 33 people ahead of me, a third of them had to be bots that purchased like a quarter of the tickets. It had to be. Because it made no sense to me how I was number 34.
Yeah, I thought there was a limit for only able to buy 2 tickets. So then that's so
I don't know
weird.
how that happened.
Yeah.
Because it made no sense to me.
Complaining.
I don't know if I was in another group, like if I was like 34 in group like fucking 100. I don't know what that is, but all I know is by the time I opened up the thing, I woke up an hour earlier than I usually do, just so I can get other shit done and then be ready to do it.
Yeah.
I sat at my computer, I opened up the link, I clicked it, I went into the queue, I waited for like 2 minutes. It wasn't bad either. I opened, thank God I wasn't sitting at my computer for hours. I would have been so pissed off. But like, I opened it up and everything was great. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I think it was like 8 minutes after they went on sale, they were sold out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hope that actual Sabbath fans were able to get the tickets. If you're out there watching this podcast and you got a ticket, let us know in the comments, because
I'll sell you a kidney for it.
Yeah, because I haven't heard of anyone who actually got tickets.
Me either. I don't know a single person. Yeah. I think this is going to be a huge scandal. Wait, this isn't going to be like that fucking 50 Cent thing I was telling you about last week.
That'd be so sad. Ozzy gets wheeled out onto the stage, and he looks out. It's just empty.
God. You know what, though? The guys in Motley Crue, just to spite Sharon, would do that. So I'm not 100% convinced that it's not, but more likely it's probably bots that wanted to poach these tickets, so then that way they could sell them at like a ridiculous resale value.
For like $5,000 for nosebleeds.
And this is the part where the internet fucking sucks. That's all I'm going to say. Because, like, it's crazy to imagine a time, because I didn't live through this. I don't know how much you know, like, obviously, but Jonah, like, there was a time when concert tickets were all the same price, and it was just about who bought them first, where you got to see it.
Yeah, you
that seems fair to me.
Yeah, that seems fair to me too. And I like the concept. You actually go to the venue, wait in line. If you really want the tickets, you spend the night before in like your sleeping bags, and then you wait.
Well,
for
listen,
it.
there's a camaraderie process to that too. The fans are all congregating together. They're getting to know each other. You create lifelong friends and musical connections, and it becomes an experience. And it's just like we've had. Okay, here's the first philosophical discussion of the day. Music is so much less valued because there's so much less importance on it. Think about every activity that you had to do. When you wanted to go to a concert ticket, like when Michael Jackson, for example, I don't know why, but this is what's coming to mind. When he put up his tickets for the This Is It tour, was supposed to be his final round of shows before he died. Great documentary. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Side note. Nevertheless, when he put them up, people fucking waited outside in these gigantic lines, like way worse than like Manhattan at the TKTS Center. Like probably like 2 days on these lines. They were all the same price. And all it took was like, if you got there really, really, really early and held out, then you would get the tickets. And there's so much more value on that then. It's like I spent my time and my energy and not just my money, but all these other things around it too. And I've created this, there's been a whole experience around it. There's just so much more value in it. When you go and you spend however much it is to buy an album, a CD, or whatever it was, maybe $9.99 on somebody's album. When you bought that, you paid for that. So there's so much more weight on that than like, oh, I feel like listening to this, opening your phone, and in literally like under 30 seconds having it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like music is such a, like, I don't even know. It's not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just, it's so easy, it's too easily accessible.
The music, shoot, now I had the word and then now I lost it, shoot. But there's just so much. I tagging on to what you're saying, I feel the same thing. Like music isn't as valued as it once was because there's also so much music as well out there. The music pool is very, call it that. Yeah, it's oversaturated. There we go. That's
it's so much oversaturation. Yes.
There's so much oversaturation. There's so much music. There's nothing really. It's very fractured, kind of like how like on TikTok and Instagram, everyone's feeds are like fractured and stuff. The music industry as a whole is like that too. Whereas like
God,
because people would all hear the same things on the radio, and also the hit albums that get sold, and then you listen to the whole album instead of just like the select songs that you've heard of. So
yep,
yeah. The community had more to talk about, and now it's cool that there's so much music out there, but the music community doesn't seem as like connected as it once was.
It's so fragmented. I mean, we're talking in all senses of the word too. Like, think about live shows. I can just speak from my experience. I know you have a very welcoming, like the Monsters of Metal community is really awesome. But I'm going to assume you've probably experienced this. You've been at this a long time. You just recently found this group of people. Like out here on Long Island, it's so gate kept. Like when I try to get into these venues or I meet these other bands, they're basically just look at me like, well, no one helped me. And it's like, really? When you were me, I know that you were wishing that there was someone like you who could help me out and recommend me to a venue, help me get an opening slot, anything. To at least introduce me to people that could help me out. But your response to me is really like, figure it out?
Yeah.
Really?
That is stupid.
There's so much of that though, and it's in everything. There's a lot of gatekeeping in the industry, and then by the fans as well. Which we've talked about gatekeeping rock and metal fans for days on this show. I think that was 90% of season 2 for me. I was fucking
that
ranting.
was all of season 2.
But I think it plays into a much larger thing about culture. When we look at like how culture, see, I'm on a roll here. I'm ready to go. You guys aren't even ready. This is way beyond season 2. This is everything about season 2 heightened. When you look at like America, for example, and we've talked about this before on the show, everything is reflective of each other. Like music. It's not just in the music industry. The acting industry works like this nowadays. There's 12 million streaming platforms. There's so many shows. Most of it is crap. That shouldn't have been made, but people are just throwing money around because nobody knows what's going to work anymore because there's no sense of, there's no mainstream anymore. That doesn't exist. It's not a thing. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like in anything, because of like the way social media and the internet works, and there was always cliques and tribes, and yeah, the grunge people didn't hang out with the hip hop people in the 90s. Sure, there was but you can't even tell me that was rock and that was hip hop. You can't even tell me what hip hop is nowadays. You can't tell me what rock is nowadays. You can't tell me what pop is. None of that exists anymore. Genres are dead. These cultures are dead. There's no scenes anymore because no one goes out anymore. They just spend all their time on their fucking phones in their houses.
And when they do go out to shows, they go out to one band, and then they just dip
go out
afterwards.
to see. And that's the thing too, is you go out to see, if there's like a 3-act show, people won't even show up for the opening acts. They just show up for the thing. They don't talk to anybody. They don't do anything. They just film the entire show on their fucking phone. I'm sorry, but it's just the culture of it has changed, and everything's so oversaturated and greed today. Like concert tickets, they gouge at these prices. For shitty tickets, you pay like $300, $400, $500, and it's not even good. Price of food nowadays in America is so expensive, and it's all preservatives and seed oils and sugars and dyes, and it's all crap. You're paying for like crap, and nobody seems to care about any of this. Everybody, I'm sorry. You're just at least a fucking beast, Jonah. You don't even understand. These are the things that I think about, and when I lie in bed at night and just fester.
Dude, this is next level. I haven't seen like Nick like this on a pod. He's just going for it.
I'm going off like Eminem in 2002.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a clip right there for the podcast.
Yeah.
That's a short right there.
Yeah, for real.
Which, by the way, I want to play into that. That's another part of it. The attention span. The reason that no one has any value on anything is because you can swipe up and have something else immediately. I'm sorry, Jonah. I
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to.
It's okay. This
This
is a wild
season is the best by far. I'm sorry. That was amazing. I like that reference. But listen, basically what I'm trying to say here is no one places anything. I think I said this on the show once. I asked my great grandmother, who was like 91 at the time, and I was doing this project for school, and I turned right to her and I asked her, I said, we're supposed to like interview like a older relative who was born before World War II. And I asked her, I said, you know, I want to ask you a question. And I was asking her about it, but I was like, I asked her something just on my own volition. It wasn't even in there. I said, what would you say the biggest difference between your childhood and mine was, just culturally? Because I was fascinated to know. And she looked at me and she said, you know what I think the biggest difference is I've probably said this on the show before, but she said the biggest difference between my generation and her generation is people don't value things anymore. And that really hit me deep, because it was like, she's like, when we would go out and we would buy something, whether it was, you know, a loaf, even if it was just like a loaf of bread, like you like cherished that because you worked for that. You spent your money on that. If it was a toy or whatever that you bought as a kid or was a gift, like you held on to that stuff. Kids nowadays are like, ooh, shiny. What's this?
Put it away.
What's this? What's this?
Mm-hmm.
It's scary. I don't know. I mean, I would love to get your thoughts on this so I can just shut up for like 5 minutes, but
no, I agree. I feel that there's so much going on in the modern world today. I feel like that people don't get a chance to sit down and really appreciate what they have. So that's how we kind of lost this, like, people don't look and value what they have as much, and they don't value, like you were saying, they don't value quality as much anymore. And we see that in the entertainment industry. You see that in the music industry. Yeah. We saw that like what you said before with the mumble rap and stuff. Like that isn't like that isn't quality.
And COVID was the worst time for all of that stuff, because everybody just sat at home and brain rotted for fucking a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. I think that's why, as far as music goes, why it just keeps declining too, is because think about it. To create great music, you have to put in, you understand it, I understand it, the amount of time and effort you have to put into learning how to sing, into playing an instrument, into crafting songwriting, into learning how to record things, production. All of these things take so much time, and you get continually better at them. The problem is no one has the attention span. It's all instant gratification with everything nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you can't have it immediately, no one wants to work for it. That's why rock is really dead, because it's all based on playing and skill.
Yeah.
And if you
have
don't
to
have
put
any
the
of that
time in.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, the reason pop and hip hop has flourished so much is because, and I don't mean to say this, I'm not saying there isn't a craft to it and there aren't people who are geniuses at this kind of thing, like Kendrick Lamar. He's brilliant. But like, there are people, 90% of it, like that trap rap we were talking about, right? Come up with some mumble rap shit about what a gangster you are and how much you love sex and drugs and whatever. Fucking do that. Turn on auto-tune. So if you sing anything, it's going to be in key and you don't have to worry about actually learning how to sing. And come up with some beat that you'll just loop for 2.5 minutes.
And the beat just loop, nothing changes.
That has nothing changes, goes nowhere, because that's the thing is, and that's the thing too. Songs nowadays, there are literal songs coming out on the charts nowadays that are like 1.5 minutes. That's not a song.
Yeah. No, that is a.
Like
I played
80s,
on Logic
that was
for
an intro.
5 minutes.
In the 80s, that was just the intro. Like, okay, one of the biggest selling songs of all time, the biggest cultural movement probably in the history of music, Smells Like Teen Spirit, Nirvana. That song is 5 minutes, and no one realizes that. And it has dynamics and parts, and yeah, he's playing the same 4 chords, but the way that the arrangement, it totally flips the chords on their heads, and the way that it pulls back with the single notes on the chorus, and then the power chords, and then it's brilliant. So yeah, he found a way to keep it simple, yet it's a perfect song. Exactly. But you don't see as much of that anymore because people just want to be done with things and go on to the next, whether you're making it or you're consuming it. And it's just like this, its culture is just, it's at the point where nothing. That's why people always complain nowadays about movies are just, they're making the 4th sequel of a movie that came out 30 years ago, or the TV show is just a remake of an older show, or any like things like that. The reason that happens is because our culture is eating itself. It's like a snake consuming its own tail at this point.
It's just an endless loop, and now no one can create anything original
because no one wants to. No one wants to put in the time and the effort to be original anymore. Look at all these people that are like defined our culture, and now people copy some, like Michael Jackson or any of them, you know, like David Bowie, Freddie Mercury, all
Prince.
These like iconic geniuses. The amount of time and years and effort they put into their, you know what I mean? Like Michael grew up, sometime he was 5 years old. He was on stage honing his craft. He got better at dancing, better at writing. He continued to grow as an artist, and all of his influences from when he was a child, the Smokey Robinson and the James Brown, and then all the hip hop stuff that was happening at the time that started to influence him, like going into the 90s and stuff. All of that, and he put it together, and there was a time and Michael Jackson had as long as a career as he did from the time he was a little kid to the 50 years old, and he only made like 5 or 6 albums because it was quality.
Yeah,
but every song on all those albums, you know all of them because of the time and effort he put into his craft. There's no craftsmanship anymore. No one treats it like art anymore. You can't just take an open bucket of paint, throw it at the wall, and say that's my art. That's what people do nowadays.
That's the stupid. I hate that so much when I see things. There's $1 million painting. Yeah, why is it like $1 million? I drew a square.
Exactly. Do you see what I mean? And the problem is, instead of a culture where in any rational, normal culture, like we would have even 20 years ago, go, what the fuck is that? That's crap. Like, go work on your, or, you know, or if it's not even if it's not crap, like, okay, it has potential. The problem is we reward mediocrity today.
Yeah.
Because we don't have enough brain power and enough attention span to think about it. Right? I'm sorry. I know I'm getting real heated here, but like, I'm not at you. You know, understand us. This isn't at you. I'm just.
No, I know that. Yeah, no, it's what I agree with completely what you're saying. I feel since everyone gets rewarded and everyone gets that quick rush of dopamine from scrolling through their Instagrams and Snap Talks and stuff like that.
Snap Talks. Oh my God. We sound like old men yelling at clouds. And we're literally like so young. It's really funny. But you know what? It's funny to me because now I think there is a real hope and potential and opportunity because, and I want to say something hopeful before I rant some more. Yeah. But like, you had no idea this is where the conversation was going.
No, I didn't. I want everyone to know, like, 1 minute before the podcast, we're like, what are we going to talk about? And we're like, we have no idea. Let's just do something philosophical.
And we're 22 minutes in, and we have hit so hard today. This episode has hit different. This is season 2 on meth.
Yeah.
This is Crackhead season 2.
Steroids.
That I do feel a little hopeful because I will say, like, when I saw like the whole Creed comeback that happened, 90%, like when I went to that, there were so many young people under the age of 30 at that show. And that made me so hopeful about the future of music because I think people are starting to now go, I don't really like the way I feel with all of this. And yet there's going to be people who are going to, in our generation, who are going to perpetuate this horrible culture. However, I have been noticing that there is a strong, it seems to grow every year. And I think it's because since we've been out of COVID, people really have a perspective of the world more. Not all of them. Some of them are still just dumbasses. But there are kids our age who I think are back in the real world again now that everything isn't shut down and are going,
and they're
actually,
discovering
what's
that
going
they
on
actually
here?
like quality.
Actually rediscovering that they like things. And like, I think there were the kids too, thankfully during COVID, that didn't just brain rot. Some of them, like me, like I learned how to play the guitar. I learned how to record music during all that time. Like, I think there's a lot of people who, you know, it got old for them. And I just continue to see every year, like that Creed show was really hopeful for me because there was so many young people there. And yeah, I don't know. There's a positive aspect of, you know, we're kind of talking about culture eating itself a second ago. There is a upside. Everything is a plus and a minus, you know? And I think the plus side of that is when people are rediscovering all this old shit, they're going, wow, this stuff was really good. And it's having an influence on them in a way that all this stuff that was created with intent and purpose and creativity is being appreciated when you're recycling it. So the downside of it is nothing really new is happening. But on the plus side, at least people are appreciating good quality work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of a double-edged sword.
I'm excited for the music that comes out of our generation in particular, because what I've seen with like doing all these shows is there are select bands that I've met that are in that group that you're talking about, that they appreciate the craftsmanship of music. They've put the time in and they want that change in the music industry. And it's cool to see that group that are creating good songs. And it also shows, I feel like it's this, like in the group of people that are in that horrible culture that you're talking about, subconsciously they know what quality stuff is, and that's what, and their attention will start to gravitate towards that a little bit, and that's why we start to see that increase that you're talking about year by year.
Yeah, well, and because those type. Oh, I'll let you finish what you're saying, and then have a good point.
But what I'm saying is, I feel like
I'm gonna let you finish.
Our generation, the music that comes out of our generation is going to be very, very special, and we're going to start seeing a change of craftsmanship in art, in music and stuff. Yeah.
I think we've been, honestly, look at artists like, and I know, Jonah, you haven't really gotten on to him yet, but I think you really, I'm going to send you his record. I think you should listen to it because I think you would really appreciate what he's doing. It's really inventive. Benson Boone or like Olivia Rodrigo. Like, these are people that they make pop stream and mainstream music, and they're able to connect to this generation of like people that are not really thinking that much at the same rate. They're having an influence on them, and these are people who care about what they're making and have influences. Of like Olivia, for example, she loves, her favorite band is Rage Against the Machine. She loves Alanis Morissette. That is going to have those, and my guitar teacher told me this a long time ago, some of the best advice. He told me, when you love a guitar player, don't just listen to their influences. If you're a singer, listen to your singer's influences, because then you're going so much deeper into the root of it. And it's so true. And I think there's a subconscious thing happening with that, like what Olivia's doing or Benson is doing. The music that they like and appreciate, which is stuff that we like older music that's really good. What they're doing is they're subconsciously starting to introduce that and changing their thought process. And my point I was going to make before is, it's going to change because naturally 90% of people, unfortunately, are followers and not leaders. Especially these people, it's worse nowadays in our generation. It's probably 99% of people with us, but like, they don't have original thoughts. They just consume shit and then they regurgitate it and then they throw it up back. So as the culture starts to shift, they're just going to go along with that. When trap rap was the biggest thing 5 years ago, that's what they were listening to. Now no one's listening to fucking Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and Ice Spice anymore. Everybody's listening to Olivia, Sabrina and Benson and
Chappell
you know what I mean?
Roan. Yeah.
Chappell Roan. Yeah. So everything is like it. Chappell's another example. These are artists who have great influences, who are making high quality music, who care about what they're doing. And it's happening. It is happening. So I don't mean to rant in the sense of it's just madness to me that I'm somebody I think who naturally always has gone against the grain my entire life. Like since I was a child, I've just always felt like I don't belong in this group of mindless you know, what's everybody doing? I'm just going to follow that. That's never been me my entire life. I've always been, what do I want to do? What am I interested in? I know it sounds a little narcissistic, and it probably is, but it's been to my benefit, I think, in the sense of like, I'm able to form my own opinions and tastes, and you know what I mean? And I think it's important for people to be able to, and I think everyone eventually finds their way with that, but some people never do, and that's sad. But you know, some people takes a really long time. So I'm grateful to be. You're someone like that too. I think that just knows who they are, knows what they want to do, even if they don't know what they want. They know what they don't want at least, and you know, can recognize.
It's a blessing to realize that early on in your life. Like I've for a long time, I knew what I wanted in life. I knew what I was going to do.
Yeah, me too.
And I was going to do anything I wanted to do that. And that path has pretty much been the same for me. Nothing's really swayed me or anything.
Yeah, because you know how and you know what and why. The where, the when, the you know, the how, that all gets figured out along the way. But as long as you know those two things, you know, you're doing better than I think like the vast majority, especially in our generation of the population. But yeah, kind of an I like the way that. Hey, look, it's kind of like it's a metaphor for the snake eating itself. We kind of gone full circle here. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good. We're already we've done the episode. I mean, unless Jonah, you have something else to.
I think that's a perfect way to wrap it up.
Let it sit. Let's just keep it short and sweet. I think.
Yeah.
Sabrina, look at that. But I think it's going to be good to let that marinate a little bit for our viewers.
Yeah, let us know what your thoughts are on what we were talking about for the last half hour.
Yeah,
might
be a little shorter once I edit out all the pauses and stuff.
Yeah, I'm really interested what you guys have to say on this topic. If you agree with us, if you disagree with us, if there's artists that you think fall into the category of pushing against the grain and being original, I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say.
I would love to. Listen, we know so many of you watch this show. We get a lot of views on this show. We want more comments. We want to hear from you directly. We want to know what you're thinking. I would love to see you in the comments. I'm always looking at our comment section, so I'll be over there ready to have a great discussion with you. And hey, listen, if you bring up a great point, you never know. You might end up on the show as a guest. You never know. Like, listen, if you leave a comment that's like really like, if you can get my head scratching, you're coming on the show. That's all I'm saying, because it takes a lot to break me. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And until next time, my name is Nick Valley.
My name is Jonah Doc, and I.
This is Rev Rock Revolution.